They are all basically saying the same thing, whether they're PlayStation or Xbox. I'm not interested, I'm not excited about what the console is doing, about what the companies are doing and what they're showing me. The value's no longer worth it. I will keep what I have, but now I'm moving forward onto someone else. Because really, at the end of the day, you're going to go where you're treated best. And so people are leaving. But again, regardless of what these companies do going forward, if they don't have the trust, no matter how good the product is, the customer will go to PC. Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage. Been thinking a lot about just what we've been seeing with the console companies, and primarily with Xbox and PlayStation, and how it compares with PC. And I think it's been fascinating to watch how we're seeing why Steam and PC is the best place to be as a player. And it's not necessarily because of better games. It's not necessarily because, there's less pricing. I mean, to a degree there is. And it's not like it's cheap getting into PC either. It's actually really expensive for the hardware for you to be set up for a few years and have something comparable to be able to play stuff. And it's also not necessarily without less headache. But at PC, you're treated better. You're respected more as a player. Steam is still a company, still is GOG and Epic Games, but they're all competing with each other, and now, also they're competing with the Xbox Store. And even though that's not overly big yet, their foot in the door has kind of been Game Pass, and they're going to be bringing the Xbox Store in full force, I suspect, with Project Helix. Some of the changes they've already been doing. But what's interesting to see is that both main consoles, and I think too even Nintendo, though they'll last longer than the others, eventually I think all consoles, as I've said before, are going to become obsolete and have to change and shift over and ultimately put their games in more places so that they can continue to have profit. As we look at Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, all have been dropping in profit while revenue is going up. And that's kind of backwards. But things are expensive for them too. So when I take a look at what PlayStation is doing, they are destroying the trust with their player base. And again, these people, they've been with PlayStation probably since at least PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 3, and some have been around since PlayStation 1. And I had PlayStation 1 through PlayStation 4, but what kept me there overall was the fact that the service was better, that the value was there. Well, that doesn't feel like it's the case anymore. It's actually really hard for me to see the value in PlayStation, and what I see constantly on Twitter X is that, the prices are high, or it's not really that big of a deal, like the DRM check that they added, or the fact that online always, and that's an issue for Xbox too, and the DRM checks as well, though supposedly they're only supposed to happen once, at least on Xbox. But we're seeing the breakdown of the trust of the player base for PlayStation. And again, it doesn't need to be a lot of people, but it can only be a marginal amount to completely sink the PlayStation 6. Because everything is ran on the edge of the knife, the tip of the sword. Everything, always, every company and industry always has a bunch of debt that they have to deal with, and the margins are generally fairly tight. It's better with software, of course, but there's also other competitors too, and you don't want to give an inch to anybody. Now, PlayStation seems to be taking what they see, the decrease that they've been having, because they've been in the single digits as well the last couple of years. They're getting better now to a point. They have better ROI at least. We don't know what their profit is, but I assume the profit is also getting better. But it's still not overly high. But what we see with PlayStation is that they're just raising the walls of their garden. They're not wanting to have games go to PC, single-player PC anymore. They're wanting to pull that back, though we haven't seen anything from that officially, but that's kind of the idea. We'll for sure get to see in October whether Ghost of Yotei actually goes to PC or not. They're also continuing to raise the prices of PlayStation Plus. They've been doing that for about, 4 years now. And the price has never gone down. We're also seeing, too, again, with like Marvel Tokon, at least with the beta anyway, releases soon, showing that people need to sign into PSN on PC in order to actually play the game. And they already tried that with Helldivers, and yeah, that didn't work very well. I don't think that's going to work with Marvel Tokon either. The thing, too, is that even the games that are going to PC from PlayStation, like Marvel Tokon, they're not going very well. The anti-cheat and the performance for the ports and everything, it's going bad for a lot of people. And even people that have like 50 series cards or high 40 series cards are having horrible frame rates. And that's launched as a premium game. And it's ridiculous. It shouldn't be doing that at all. Also, when we're taking a look at PlayStation, well, they're not renewing any licenses. And so when we see that, like, with Funimation in 2024, well, they let the license expire. And so, therefore, people lost all of their libraries that they had paid for when PlayStation bought them. We're seeing it again in 2026, where PlayStation is allowing all of the distribution of movies and TV shows that people have paid for, roughly about 550 from Studio Canal, which is a French distribution company, no longer again renewing the license, and so those people just lose everything. And then we're even seeing some changes now, though not as bad yet, with Crunchyroll, who they also bought. So it doesn't bode a lot of confidence when PlayStation comes up and says, hey, we're going to make games all digital only. And I suspect that the reason why they're doing this is because digital only, well, they can set the price for whatever they want, which they have been doing in the past, and against the physical copies of those same games, it's making them look bad to the extent that they're being sued by multiple countries. The United States, the UK, Netherlands, Singapore, and Portugal, and Mexico. And there's probably going to be more, which is worse, because again, they can sue for past practice. And while the physical copy deteriorates in price over time, the physical stays the same or even goes up in price. It's also killing the used market, and so you're creating effectively a monopoly. And do people trust that with what PlayStation's already been doing? No. And they're trying to find value or profit increase by screwing over their consumer base, which is completely backwards. Because again, if you lose trust with the company, you will walk away. It takes a lot of little infractions, but eventually you say no more. And I do think some people will walk. And that looks different for everybody. Some people are canceling their pre-orders of digital games. Some are only buying physical. Some are signing the petition at change.org. Link in the description if you wish to sign it and you haven't yet. Also, too, people are just saying, I'm not going to buy the PlayStation 6. And I'm going to go over to Steam now. Some people, too, find that the Helix is attractive because you get all of the Steam libraries. GOG, Epic Games, Battle.net, and the Xbox library all in one box. That actually looks really, really good. And you get to take all your console games with you, and you can import all of your PC libraries in one place. No one's been able to do that yet. So that actually looks really, really nice. The other thing that I think is interesting is that PlayStation, we just saw, again, it's getting out there now that there's actually a patent for a buttonless controller for the PlayStation. And we don't know if it's exactly for PlayStation 6, but completely be buttonless is going to mean it's more expensive. It also means that it's going to be harder to find those specific parts to fix. It also means that we're probably going to have to rely on PlayStation to actually fix those controllers, or we're just going to have to buy a new one with whatever price they actually set. Some people, too, are also canceling PlayStation Plus. And there's even now a call for a blackout of August 23rd through the 30th to not use PlayStation at all. No buying, no playing, no using the consoles, no using PlayStation Plus or any other services. Just completely foregoing PlayStation. Because some of the players know that PlayStation isn't listening, and they don't think enough players will leave. That could be a serious mistake on their part, especially if they do not acknowledge this or want to reverse anything at any time. And players have made big console companies or gaming companies, or any company for that matter, actually reverse decisions before. We got to see that with Unity, which is one of the biggest game engines out there. And a lot of indie and independents and AA studios actually use Unity. But they reversed some of their course. Not completely, but they did reverse it, and they even let go the president at the time. But it was the board that made the decision, so it didn't really change anything. Another company, too, is Xbox. Xbox was pushing away from console, and Asha Sharma is now making it pushed back to actually what Xbox is. It's a console first. So she's been making these changes, and we're getting these small little updates every 2 weeks to make the interfacing better, the experience better, ease of use, customization, all of those little teeny things. And some of them, I think, too, are actually pretty big. Like the backwards compatibility that's now Play Anywhere. Play Anywhere is not just connected to Game Pass. No, it's its own separate thing, meaning you buy the game once and it plays on everything. It plays on cloud, mobile if it's available, PC and console and whatever, and even Xbox One, if you can cloud it or stream it, whatever. And then there's Game Pass, which is day one games, and a lot of people are using that to actually save money. That's where the value is. Now, we don't have Call of Duty there, but we also got a lower price from $30 to $23 for pretty much almost exactly the same service. PlayStation has also gotten rid of their rewards program to be able to help players save money, and Xbox still has theirs, though they've reduced how many points you can earn in a year. It's not unlimited anymore. I used to earn about $150, and now I can only earn about $100. But I'm testing that. Right now, I'm actually right around 100, and so I ought to be close. And I think technically I've hit it, but I can still earn. But it's not quite the same, and I'll make that in a later video, probably in a couple months, just to be sure. The other thing that I think is interesting is that with PlayStation and Xbox, we've seen that the digital infrastructure is failing to where people can't get the checks, DRM sign-ins, and all of this other kind of stuff. They can't play their games when they're digital. They can't even play the physical ones because they need a check, and the service is down, and so you literally just have a big brick that you spent money on, that you have your biggest hobby on, or at least one of them, and you can't do anything with it. And it's not like it's just been down for a few hours. Xbox is still actually dealing with theirs for over 48 hours now, and they still don't know what the problem is. Now I can play today. I haven't had a single issue. I can play online. I can check the store. I can buy games. I actually bought one too. I had the opportunity to help a friend, but I was killing two birds with one stone, so I thought, well, why wait? Why not just buy it today to see? And the transaction went through just fine. I can play any game that I want so far. I've tried some 360, I've played some Independence, and I've even played War Thunder, and I'm able to play. So I even played Gears of War Reloaded, also off of Game Pass, and it worked just fine. No problems, but some people still are, according to a poll that I have on my channel. Some people are struggling with it. But it just goes to show that people don't own. And I'm glad that things are happening the way in which they are, because I think people need to understand and have a wake-up call, now more than ever, that they don't really own anything, they don't really control anything. It's all through the companies. Even Steam now admits, since they have, I think since last year, that you actually buy a license. You don't own the game. And that decreases the trust that the customer has with the company, regardless of whichever one it in. It just goes to show that GOG, Get Good Old Games, actually has the best policy because, well, you can actually buy some games over there to where you get all of the launch files and you don't need the launcher. There are no check-ins. There is no digital rights management. You just own the game in full. And that, I think, really needs to be the new policy. I also think, too, that PlayStation and Xbox, while Xbox has caught up with Steam for a return policy, I think PlayStation really needs to figure out their return policy and completely revamp it to where they're giving some control and somewhat of a guarantee over to the customer that if they don't like the product or if it's buggy or broken or whatever, that within certain limits they can return the game and get a full refund, no questions asked. And while Xbox's is pretty good, even longer to an extent, it's not always exactly a guarantee. So it's not like you can just spam every single game. You know, they eventually have a limit on that. But as long as, quote, they don't feel you're abusing it, they will return the game. And someone was able to do that with Halo. The Mag, actually, was able to do that when he bought Halo on Xbox. And he was pretty frustrated because he couldn't even play the game. And it was in early access. I think he got it for Xbox. But he refunded the game. No problem. Got his money back. But he paid for early access and it didn't work. He could not get the game to run. And this has become a more common problem too with Xbox, where, or even to just some other games on various platforms, is that you pay for the game early, which I still think is stupid. And you're buying the worst version of the game at the highest price, and then you can't even play it. Just like Diablo 4, just like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and other various games that have had early access, they don't always work, sometimes not at all, and it's a total waste of money. But again, companies are trying to find ever creative ways to get you to spend more money without really giving you any value. That's why I'm waiting to get Halo at launch. I'll play the game, I'll try the multiplayer, or a co-op, split screen, whatever, and then I'll actually do a review on it, but I'm not paying any more than $50. That's all it's going to be. But it's a fascinating time to watch consoles completely break down, because the Switch 2, really good start, is now horrible. They've slowed production, and they're supposed to be ramping it back up by now, but no, that's not the case. They're not doing that. We haven't heard anything on that front, at least yet. Also, a lot of their games are pretty mediocre compared to what they used to be. There's also other IPs that they're not investing in. Same with PlayStation, same with Xbox. And again, what was fascinating about console was the friend experience, the friendship experience, being able to play together, being able to have mutual respect. But the live service PvP has just pitted generations against each other, and it's really hard to make friends compared to what it used to be. And so the console experience has somewhat lost some of its essence. And then when the rest of the stuff doesn't work and the services don't provide, and it's just give me more money for worse service, or not, or find out you don't really own anything anyway, well, PC starts to look like it's a better place. Now Xbox is making the shift from being a console to a platform. They've already been doing that for roughly 6 years. And I think they will continue to do that, of course. But PlayStation and Nintendo are continuing to solidify that they are a console, that they have exclusives, that people are going to want to buy. And even people younger than me are giving them the finger and saying, no, I'm going to PC. I know of roughly 12 people just in the last 12 months, roughly one a month, whether I'm running into them at the sandwich shop or at a particular store or at work or my own personal friend group, they are all basically saying the same thing, whether they're PlayStation or Xbox. I'm not interested, I'm not excited about what the console is doing, about what the companies are doing and what they're showing me. The value's no longer worth it. I will keep what I have, but now I'm moving forward onto someone else. Because really, at the end of the day, you're going to go where you're treated best, especially when money gets tight. And I think that's something that all of the console companies just happened to misunderstand until it was too late. They've all had to raise their prices. They've all had to raise their service costs. They've also all raised the cost of their games. And they're also trying to find ever creative ways to get you to spend more money while the games are buggy, while the anti-cheat is a mess, while the optimization is bad, progression bugs, doesn't work at launch, can't connect. It's just a myriad of problems. Now, some games are better than others, of course, but the overall experience with console is frustrating. And so people are leaving. And I think by the time we have the next-gen consoles, PlayStation 6 is going to be in pain. I think Helix will be okay because, again, the primary focus of Xbox is to meet you where you are. And still, the place that will keep growing is PC and mobile. And I think handhelds, too, will continue to go. But again, regardless of what these companies do going forward, if they don't have the trust, no matter how good the product is, the customer will go to PC every single time. And that's why we've already had this slow migration that I think some of us are just starting to realize. Myself included last year. This whole transition to PC was inevitable. And the console companies, I think, are also seeing that, and they're making changes now to try to ensure that they have a future. Xbox is saying, well, we are where we are, we're in third place, and so since we already own Windows gaming, we'll just merge everything. And that's what they're doing. And I like that. I like the idea of an omni-platform. I like the idea that I have a much better return policy with their games. I like, too, that they're lowering their price of their service. Also, that they're working in partnerships with some of their companies, and I hope they understand that a disk drive for the Helix needs to be there. If the trust is there, if the product is premium, there will be people that will pay the cost, whatever it is. Even if it's $1,500 for a Helix, there will still be people that will go out and see it as an investment and will actually buy it. And I think they should be slow to put it out, to kind of test the waters for the demand. That would be smart anyway. That way they don't overbuild and have too many sitting there, kind of like Nintendo, at least in some places of the world. The other thing that we're seeing is that Nintendo and PlayStation, well, again, they're just building the walls of their garden higher. They're not wanting to really compete. They're wanting to keep who they have, and even PlayStation has freaking admitted, well, we're just going to continue to monetize the player base. See, they're not wanting to expand it. They're not wanting to put their games in more places to get more sales to ensure that the studios can survive at hundreds of millions per game. They're just going to charge more. And why in the world would you trust that? When I see someone that's had a walled garden saying, hey, we want to provide features and services, and we want to meet you where you are as a consumer, wherever that is, in our circumstances, from you, me, and other viewers, it's all different. But that gets me excited about the company, because they're willing to recognize where I am and kind of be on my level and provide something that I can actually engage with, while ensuring that the physical games that I have with the physical to digital licensing sticks around, meaning the digital license stays attached to the physical game. It doesn't destroy the physical disc. It actually ensures its survival, which is great. And then when I sell it or give it to somebody else and they put the disc in, well, the license goes with it. My license disappears from my profile and gets transferred somewhere else to whoever currently has the disc. Again, it's not the license that's the primary thing. It's actually the disc itself. That's really nice. It's nice too that I can play whatever I'd like, wherever I'd like, and I can actually engage at the price that I wish. Even with Xbox One, I can pay for a month of Game Pass and play current-gen games, like Fable. That's pretty damn good. PlayStation and Nintendo, on the other hand, they're holding their backwards compatibility. They're charging more. They're tightening the noose, the net, to try to keep you in. Even with the backwards compatibility, Xbox has always been better at that, allowing more places to actually play the old console games, even now PC. So I think Xbox, overall, does have a future. I definitely think it's small. They've made a lot of mistakes, and it's still an imperfect future to begin with. But I think people trust, and the sentiment is higher with Xbox now than what it actually is with PlayStation or Nintendo. Nintendo, we almost hear nothing about anymore, whatsoever. The game? What was the last game that came out? Can you tell me? What was the last one that rated in the 90s for a score? Can you tell me? What's a future game that's coming that you're excited for? You should be able to tell me that. But again, it's a remaster or a remake. You don't actually know what's coming out for the next game in the series. And that's really bad. At least for Nintendo. It just shows that people don't care. As for PlayStation, well, it's all hinging on the exclusives. And people that have, of course, are going to be biased, they're going to want it, it's going to be fine. But is anyone else going to be coming to PlayStation for the exclusives that are coming? No. Because even when the games that were supposedly exclusive or came later to Steam, well, being in a more open market without the walls, people still chose to buy other games. At least as a whole. There were still some people that bought it, but even PlayStation admitted that the numbers were way less. And then Xbox, well, they're just doing what they can with what they have, which is not very much, honestly. It's pretty limited. It's pretty small. So they're just branching out into what they have, and they're just fusing everything together. But still, the best place is still PC. Irrefutably. And the other place is mobile. Both of those are still expanding. Both of those have a future. And probably at least one or both of those we actually take part in. But whether it's Xbox, whether it's PlayStation, or Nintendo, not all of us take part in those. Even in one of those. And so console has a serious problem. And the history, the things that are happening with these companies in just the last 12 months is showing it all. And it's amazing to watch. If I earned it, like and sub, share the video. Thank you. I'll see you guys on the next one.